And I can remember another time we had the monsoon season would hit in Phoenix, and one time it rained so much, so quickly, that all flights were canceled for the day because the actual the flight school, whatever they called that, what was the front desk? Dispatch desk. The whole floor flooded with 2 inches of water. The whole airport was flooded with 2 inches of water. And we were all the students and instructors were in there with squeegees and mops trying to get them all out there. Those are some fun times. Do you have a favorite memory of your flight training portion over there?
From the flight training, it feels like it's so long ago. I don't remember a heck of a lot of it. I remember the mistakes that I made more than anything, which, those aren't the greatest memories. I remember when we did, I guess the funnest times were when it was just you and another student doing the dual time, pretending to be an airline and doing long cross countries to,
the
other
under the
places.
hood.
Yeah.
We found I guess the flight school found a loophole that if you're both rated to build time to get your commercial rating, the method they would do that is they would put two students together, usually at night, and they'd throw them in an airplane. And the flying student would be under the hood, and the student that was, because it's VFR, looking out to avoid and give directions to the student that's under the hood. The student under the hood could log simulated instrument time, and the lookout pilot would log PSE time because they're looking out. And so both pilots got to log time to build time. And so that's what they would call those time building flights or whatever they were called.
Yeah.
It created some problems, and they had a few accidents because of that. And I don't think they still allow that. Do they, Alex?
They still do. Some of the pilot farm schools still do that. It's just they do it in a different way where you're not under the hood anymore. You're just like a crew, and it's in the time build phase for them. And they just, basically pick up their plane and go fly somewhere and, stay overnight. And then the next day they swap seats and go fly somewhere else and land and stay overnight, swap seats, and just keep doing that until.
And they both get to log the flight time?
The one flying does get to log the flight time. I don't know what the other one gets to log. I'd actually have to reach out to one of my buddies who went there and talk to him and see, but I can find out.
Yeah, I think that's, that it created issues. There were a few incidents, especially with Pan Am Flight Academy, where they had, I think it was 3 students. One was in the back seat, and they were flying over Southern California. The incident happened just off my memory, without doing any research on it to refresh it. All the airplanes were designated November, number, and then Papa Alpha, right? The traditional Piper aircraft tail number. And coming in through SoCal, because they would have multiple flights leaving Phoenix, Deer Valley, going into, I think it was Long Beach. And then they would have to go.
Carlsbad.
Was it Carlsbad?
I think so, yeah.
And then the Julian VOR, was that the one in question? At the top of the mountain there, southwest of Palm Springs. And the Julian VOR has a minimum crossing altitude because it's in the top of a mountain. And allegedly, the story behind it is there was an air traffic controller working the late shift. I don't know the details, but I was told a few different things, like, overtime or not enough breaks or something like that. And he gave 3 Papa Alpha descend to whatever it was. And there were multiple 3 Papa Alphas. There was like November, I think 423 Papa Alpha and 443 Papa Alpha. Well, he just said 3 Papa Alpha. And both of them replied, but the controller only heard the one. So one aircraft had already passed the Julian VOR and were descending clear of terrain. The second aircraft, the trailing aircraft, was flying eastbound and had not quite reached the Julian VOR, and they started descending incorrectly. Now, talk about loss of situational awareness from the pilot's perspective, not following along their location on a VFR sectional chart to ensure that any direction given by ATC is not an incorrect one, because they gave them an altitude that was lower than the minimum crossing altitude of that VOR, and they hit the top of the mountain, the second aircraft, and they could have cleared it if they were only 16 feet higher. So just at the ridge. And of course, I believe all the board perished, and it was a very, very dark day for the Academy. Were you were there during that time, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And did I get that right? The explanation?
Yeah. I think so. I think there was a call between when the original call went out, and then the ATC gave another clearance to some other aircraft. And I think the first aircraft, someone queried, was that for us? And the the ATC said, no, that was for this third plane. So there's just like a loss of communication there as well.
Yeah.
From what I've heard.
Yeah. And it's a tragedy when student pilots, unfortunately, this is not the show that we do here. We don't talk about aircraft accidents and incidents. There's plenty of other shows out there that will explore the news of aviation accidents and incidents, and we'll let them dive into what happened there. But being as this was kind of a connection with us here on the show with you, Bill, being at Pan Am at the time, these kind of things happen. And it's important that we remain diligent and vigilant and, follow along. And just because air traffic control is telling you to do something doesn't mean it's right. Or it could have been meant for someone else. We've been doing this for now. Bill and I have been doing this, 20 years a pop? And how many times do you hear air traffic control use a wrong call sign?
That never happens. That never happens at all. They are flawless controllers all the time.
Now, just on a side note, and either of you, feel free to jump in here. When air traffic control, let's say your legacy flight 123, and air traffic control says United flight 123, turn left heading 55, whatever. Do you correct them, or do you just sit there with your arms crossed and wait for them to figure out what they did wrong?
I usually call them up and say, "Oh, was that for Legacy 123?"
I'll do the arms crossed for the first one, and then I'll do what Bill said and be like, "Oh, did you mean Legacy 123?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, Legacy."
Yeah. I love it when I do what Alex does. I'll fold my arms if I'm in a not in a hurry to get out of there or whatever, but I'll fold my arms and I'll sit back in my seat ready to cue the mic, and the captain goes, "I think that was for us." I'm like, "No." And then they go, "United 123, turn left." Did you mean Legacy 123, turn left to 055? Whatever. They roll their eyes at me like, "Don't be such an asshole."
They're like, "This guy's going into a hold for sure."
Yeah, advise ready to say, repeat after me, cancel IFR and frequency change approve. Squawk IFR.
Do you know anything about planes?
I flew in the war a long time ago. I wouldn't know anything about it.
Do you know anything about planes? Do you know anything about planes?
Can you fly this airplane and land it?
No, not a chance. No, not a chance. No, not a chance.
Roger. Roger.
Huh?
Request vector. Over. What?
Do you know anything about planes?
Clearance, Clarence. Roger. What's our vector, Victor?